What's up, everybody? This is Zach with the Nerd Cave, and I'm joined along with
the one and only Derek Daniel.
The man, the myth, the legend, guys. The man, the myth, the legend. Derek.
I don't know. Since I'm showing up so frequently, am I a legend still?
Yeah, man.
Or am I myth?
No, you're definitely a legend because, it's like the Undertaker. Like they called him the Phenom all the time, but he was there all the time. You know, like they finally let him retire. Like,
thank goodness.
like he finally got to retire. I'm glad
he can literally rest in peace.
Yeah, like that man put in some work. But guys, this is not a show about WWE and The Undertaker. This is a show about gaming news. We come to you each and every week and we discuss all the gaming news that you need to know. We sit down, we talk some deep dive stuff, we get some quick hits at the end, and then we send you on your merry way, on your own journey. Follow the yellow bird to the next location. Maybe there's a fox that you follow.
I was going to say, that's not how the saying goes, but then I got it's like, oh no, he's referencing Ghost of Tsushima. Well played, sir.
That's what I do here. That's what I do here. Just like Ghost of Tsushima, there's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of tales. But there's one that came out this week that there's a rumor of Life is Strange 3. Working title is True Colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show. Let your true colors. But anyway, Deck 9 is working on it and will feature 5 episodes that will have minor reading powers. I'm excited about it. I didn't finish Life is Strange 2, but I did start it. But Life is Strange 1 and the subsequent...
Before the Storm?
Before the Storm, thank you. 2 really, really good games, especially the first one. I loved. Like, Life is Strange 1 is my... I want to say it's 2015, 2014. Game of the year. Whichever year it was, that was my game of the year.
Well, because the episodes took so long, I think it started in 14 and finished in 15, but I think most people can count it as like 2015.
Okay. I couldn't remember which one it was, but I know my 2016 movie of the year is Batman v Superman.
Thought it was Troll 2.
No. That's my favorite movie of all time.
Fair.
Mind reading powers is going to be awesome because with the first game we had like rewinding time and everything. The second game, it looked like I didn't get to the part where you started using your powers, but it looked like telekinesis kind of stuff where you're moving objects and all of that, or making things explode. Either one. But I think one of the cool things, it's not just like having powers in these games, but it is like the stories that we get out of them. Like they're real human stories. They're, you know, it makes you feel for the characters. And I just remember like playing the first one, and a lot of people are divided on this that played the first one. It's like, do you save Chloe and kill the whole town with this awful storm, or do you
save the town
and Chloe dies? And for me, I let Chloe live. I'm just like, hey, these guys all suck. So even though Chloe was not that great of a friend, but anyway, I would do the same. Like if it was Derek and I had to choose like a town, it would be like, I'd choose Derek.
I appreciate that. Derek. I choose you as well.
Thanks, man. So we're not saying that we're going to destroy a town. I'm just saying if there was a choice between Derek and a town, it would be the town that would be going. Yeah.
Bye-bye. Because you can always rebuild a town.
Exactly. We got lumber. I know. Lumber's really expensive right now, but we got lumber. Lime.
Exactly. I mean, we got plenty of trees around the city. You know, we can just chop that down and just, you know, do it by hand.
Yeah.
So
some would call it a debacle. Some would call it, you know, just, you know, an issue. But, you know, I would call it, you know, divine intervention.
Yep.
Because I do look divine. I do look divine.
Speaking. I was just going to say, too, and for people who don't remember Deck 9, they did Before the Storm. So, and I was going to ask you like a couple things about this development process, right? I don't know if you played Tell Me Why, which was Don't Nod's last game that they did. I know it was only 3 episodes,
Mhm.
but they released them within like a week apart from one another. And I know that's what they flagged Don't Not on for Life is Strange 1
Yep.
and 2, like the length it takes between, especially Life is Strange 2. Like the
Yeah, it was
drop
so.
of the episodes was just ridiculous. Like I think it took
Mm,
over a year to get everything out.
yeah.
Um with it being 5 episodes, do you think they're gonna try with like how they did Tell Me Why and release them maybe not weekly, but at least closer together? Or do you think they're going to stick to their previous? Or I guess it just depends on how, when they officially announce it. But do you? I hope they continue that trend of like at least making it close together, because I know Telltale when they were around got that same flack as well. Where it was like in the beginning, their first couple properties released way too far apart, and then closer toward the end, they released them like closer together, at least like a month apart.
Yeah, I think if they do like something that is like more like a month apart, that way it's like, okay, we get a good chunk here, we get a good chunk
Mhm.
there. I think that would be nice. If they do the weekly thing, it would be awesome to have
Mhm.
that. But I think, it would be, they would definitely have to have their ducks in a row to make that happen.
Yeah.
But, if they can do it, awesome. Put it out weekly. Like, make it where it's like the best experience somebody can get from
Yeah.
these games, and kind of fix the trend that has developed with all of them. Because even with Before the Storm, like it was not great on release dates either. So
Yeah.
hopefully, with Tell Me Why, ain't nothing but a
But a
heartache.
heartache.
But
Tell
anyway,
me why. Which
um,
Dan made comment to that too. Is like that he
yeah.
thinks of that song every time. So
Like with that being weekly, maybe don't put a release date until you've got it all ready, and then like
right.
have all parts done, and then just bam, 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 and have it like no issues. And I think
Hmm.
with Tell Me Why doing that, then we should be that has set a precedence. You can't really
Hmm.
set a precedence and then go back to your old ways.
Right. Right.
You
So
know,
do what works.
yeah,
So
do what works. You know, Dan also said you can't exactly replace the people in the destroyed town. It's okay. We get cardboard cutouts, we put them on a pulley system, and we can make it
mhm.
like no one ever went away. We can
like
be like,
like the
uh,
Nuketown map in Call of Duty, where it's just
yeah,
like just cardboard cutouts laid
yep,
everywhere.
yep. Or we can, WandaVision, and like it's a cheap version of WandaVision where you're just animating a corpse. Anyway, speaking of corpses, Final
That's an
Fantasy
interesting
VII
segue.
Remake controversy. Final Fantasy VII Remake is one of the free PS Plus games of March. However, the PS Plus version will not get players the free upgrade to the PS5 version. The PS5 version will be $70. Also, the Yuffie content for Intergrade will be PS5 only. Yeah, that's a hot mess if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. So the Yuffie content being exclusive, like yes, I know it alienates like half the player base at this point, and there's still rumors that because when part one came out last year, right, it had a watermark disclaimer. It's like only exclusive on PlayStation till like whatever release date of this year, and then there's speculation that it'll come to Xbox 2 now as well. But it being exclusive to next gen doesn't surprise me because yes, you're leaving PS4 player base and PS5s are hard to find, but they have to keep up with the times. They can't hold back content because how many stories do we hear about when they're trying to make it like the same type of content for multiple generations, like how the older hardware holds back development and production for that version. So
Mm-hmm.
it's no surprise to me. They want they want to incentivize people to get an upgrade. It being $70 doesn't surprise me either. That's going to be the standard price point for games going
Yeah.
forward. However, and people were, for those who didn't watch the direct, they said Oddworld Soulstorm is one of the free games for PS Plus in April, and people are like, what about March? You haven't talked about the March games. And then after they said, oh, Final Fantasy VII Remake is gonna be part of March's PS Plus collection.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, cool, that means I can play it and then get ready for Intergrade in June. And they're like, by the way, this won't count toward it. And I'm like, really? Y'all are going to be that greedy that you're not going to give the free upgrade, which to an extent I get, right? Because it's like, all right, millions of people are going to download this. We're losing out on money by just giving them a free upgrade. Yes, you still have to buy the Yuffie content separately if you do this, but they're still going to lose money. But how are you going to offer this and still make people buy the game again? You know?
Yeah, that's what I was about to suggest. If they, gave the free upgrade to PS5, but the Yuffie content be an add-on, $20, whatever. I don't know how much story content is involved in that, but if they did that, then I think they wouldn't be getting so much bad pushback on this.
Yeah.
But where it's like, okay, you own Final Fantasy, because I've got it right now on my PS4. But if I got a PS5, I would have to buy it again. I didn't buy it the first time I game shared it, but anyway, it would be like, yeah, I'm just going to play it on my PlayStation. And then, like, is the Yuffie content like a part? Like, it's part of that $70, right?
Yeah, so if you don't already have it on PS4 and you just want to wait to buy it on PS5, that'll just be the whole bundle, like bundled in together. You buying the Yuffie content, because they said it in the direct, right? Or the state of play, they said it's like, if you do the free upgrade, you'll still have to buy the Yuffie content separately, but that's only if you do the free upgrade. Like, it'll come if you just buy it outright, it'll just be all in the package together.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm with B here. $70 is just so much money, especially with how disastrous launches are these days. Like, not many games launch well, and paying $70 is really difficult. Like, the only time I trust anything is if it's first party.
And I was gonna say,
that's only
address
on PlayStation. That's only on
PlayStation.
Right,
right, and well, Nintendo too, right? But Nintendo's still 60, but I digress. And I get that, right? And this is a two-edged sword for the $70. Like, we know that it's going to be when they first announced the price point for PS5 exclusives, there was going to be pushback no matter what, right? And yes, $70 is a lot of money. $60 is even a lot of money in today's world. But because of production cost and how much time and effort goes into that, and then especially like doing DLC and content updates is not cheap either, right? So you keep constant production on that. So they have to offset the cost. Now, of course, you bring up a good point. Sony does it, and it's, for me, Sony doing it at 70 is justified because you actually see the love and dedication in their first party games that they put. So for me, I don't have a problem paying $70 because I know I'm getting my money's worth. And yes, launches are disastrous, but that's mostly for games with either a live service integrate, multiplayer integrate, or just like being an MMO, and that applies to third party. With Sony, most of their stuff, with the exception of a few games, is going to be single player, so there's not really that big a disastrous at launch. Like, yes, you have outliers like Cyberpunk that launch at that come out not even as a game, but I don't know. I'm indifferent on it, but I get the argument. But for certain instances, it's okay.
Yeah. My biggest thing is, like, once we've raised the bar to 70, and third party is the worst about this, what stops, Take-Two from going, okay, well, now it's 70. Let's charge $200 for our top edition to our new game.
Yeah.
Because they already do, like, a standard, a silver, a gold, a platinum edition. What stops them from keep pushing that up there? And then you've got your virtual currency and all of that on top of it. So, like, I think they're kind of caught in, for Final Fantasy VII particularly, caught in kind of this weird transition time of going from the last gen to the current gen, which is PS5, Xbox Series X and S. Like, it is a much different place than what we've been having before. So they're trying stuff out. It's not going to all work perfectly. That's the only problem. It's like businesses are going to make poor decisions.
Yep.
just like people do, because they're ran by people.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
we're at that place where it's like they're going to make bad decisions. If it was a free upgrade to it, awesome. That would be great because it's like, I know Dan was saying it's like he think he saw somewhere where the remake was going to give the free upgrade to the PS5, and it could be okay if you bought. This is just my thought. If you bought it and didn't get it through PlayStation Plus, then you can get a free upgrade. I could see that being,
and they did say that, right? And and I think that's where they're coming from, right? Is because when they even before next gen was a thing, when they started or released rather, when they talked about a lot of these games that were getting ports to the PS5 and Series X, right? They're like, oh, if you already own it, you'll just go ahead digitally. You can just go ahead and get the free upgrade. Or I know some companies like 2K, like unless you bought the $100 edition, if you bought the standard edition, you still had to pay like a $10 for the next gen upgrade. But most of them gave free, and because you already paid that money for the same game, so why pay double the cost? You know what I mean? But and I think that's where they're coming from is like, oh, if you're getting it for PS Plus just to get it free, we're not making money on that. Sony just gives a lump sum for games to go free on their monthly subscription service. So it's like, we're not making money from the consumers. So why should we do you guys a solid, even though I don't agree with that mindset?
Yeah. And I think it's, if it, PlayStation's got to protect themselves, financially at this point. Cause everything that's going on in the world, but I think, it'll be water under the bridge faster than we can really think about it,
Yeah. And who knows, if there's enough backlash, they could change it.
Yeah. I know Microsoft changed their decision about a month or two ago about
raising gold prices.
Yeah, raising gold prices and everything because they're trying to edge people into Game Pass instead of using gold and everything. So, but they reversed that decision because of there was such a vocal backlash out of it and everything. So this could be the same situation that we have here. But speaking of Sony's Japan studio to be reorganized, game development to be scaled back, will recenter around Team Asabi.
Yeah, so this has been going on for like the last couple months because they made a statement about how they were going to like put Japan studio on the back burner, and they tried to like when that report started getting leaked, they tried to backtrack and like no, we still plan on using them because Team Asobi has been doing like the Astro stuff, like they did Astro's Playroom on they did Astrobot Rescue Mission on PSVR. Great, arguably one of the best VR titles out there. And then they just put out Astro's Playroom, which was a free game that came with PS5s. And I know you don't have one, but that was one of the first games I played on PS5.
I've actually played it. Thank you very much.
That's right. You did go bum it off of somebody, so
yeah, I had to go play it at my other friend's house in Troy.
Right? No, yeah, the friend that lets you borrow their PlayStation.
Well, he let me borrow the controller for like 10 minutes, so more than my co-host here.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But no, and Astro's Playroom is arguably a great game. Like people just thought it'd be just a throwaway game, but I've actually played through like all 4 levels, and it is fantastic. But Japan proper has always been this amalgam, right? Like they've done games on their own, like Knack, they've done Last Guardian, they've done Bloodborne, but they've also done a lot of collab work, with other studios. Like they helped on the Demon Souls remake for PS5. But and the article stated, right, that the studio wasn't making money. Well, I shouldn't say it wasn't making money. It wasn't profitable. Like they were making money, but it wasn't bringing in the likes of like a Naughty Dog, a Santa Monica, or a Guerrilla, So they looked at that and it's like, and at first the article came out as like, oh, they're closing Japan studio. And Sony's like, no. Take that back. Let's walk that back. We're not closing them. We're just we're pretty much reorganizing assets. We're only focusing on Team Asobi because, Japan has also been like one of those like low, I shouldn't say low budget, but they've always been like a mascot platformer type thing. Like
Yeah.
they've always put out games around like new hardware as a proof of concept, just to show it's like, hey, we're making fun games. You know, it's like to bring in another type of audience to the system.
Mm-hmm.
So them reorganizing and focusing on that is probably going to what keeps them around. But because the director of Bloodborne said he got laid off or like let go from Japan studio, and these other creative minds, like the guy behind, like the people behind Gravity Rush and some other game development teams got let go, and it's sad. You know, layoffs are never fun, obviously, but I'm gonna keep an eye on this going forward to see like how far this goes, and like if this is just like pretty much putting them on life support, or just basically Sony wanting them to keep around and not losing all the talent.
Yeah, and it could be like a Vicarious Visions kind of recentering where they're going to help the others develop, you know, where they're, you know, where it's like crunch time or whatever. Hopefully there's not actual crunch, but you know, where it could turn into
the final stretch.
Yeah, it could be, you know, they're brought in to help polish things or help start development on, you know, DLC or, you know, whatever it could be for various games. Like they could be used to do that. And you know, I don't think it's a bad thing, like especially since they're a lower performing studio compared to, you know, like a Santa Monica or Gorilla or something like that. Even Gorilla, like I think if they would have not have had the success they did with Horizon, they would have been in the same position. And you know, I think a lot of people, like, yes, it's sad to see when people lose their jobs or they get reshuffled around and everything, but it is like you've got to think of it as, you know, you hear the term, it's just business. You know, it's nothing personal at that point, but it's, you know, Sony and Microsoft, like they are not afraid of making moves to either purchase or to close something down when it's not working. And I was very shocked for how long Sony let Media Molecule just spin their wheels on Dreams, you know, and I think, you know, next time around that's not going to happen. You know, they're not going to give them that leeway because, like, we're in a very different environment than we were, you know, 5 years ago.
Sony's even in a different environment than it was at the start of the PS4 cycle. You know, they were still making known franchises, and then all of a sudden a lot of their top studios changed course and was like, hey, let's make something different. And so that's how PlayStation stayed on top this entire the PS4 cycle, because they let their studios innovate and be different. So
and it's just, you know, being smart about that. You know, it's not getting stuck into one thing, and you know, making plays to, you know, bring in the right talent to, you know, try different things. And I think you see a lot of third parties that do that really well, that will, you know, bring in fresh talent, or smaller studios that will keep them making money. And speaking of that, Epic Games has acquired Mediatonic, the studio behind Fall Guys. And we kind of went through a few of these before we went live and everything, and that's huge. Like you were mentioning a few things, like they bought a bunch of people recently that are in this kind of space.
Yeah, because I mean the biggest thing, and I had to go fact check this one. Obviously, Epic already owns Fortnite. They make money hand over two fist at this point. And then I forgot they bought. I think it was like end of 19, early 20. They bought Psyonix, the people who behind Rocket League. They bought two games that make a lot of money, and then adding Fall Guys. So the interesting part to see, right, is, and you kind of see it a little bit in Rocket League. Like I know the latest thing is like the Ford F-150 special skin that you can get in Rocket League at the moment. But, you know, Fortnite has cut its teeth now in the last year on getting licensed products into their game. Like I know the Hunt thing, they bring in so many properties. Like they brought in Mandalorian, they brought in Kratos, they brought in Master Chief for Fortnite. And they just brought in Ripley and the Alien from the Alien franchise into Fortnite. And they're bringing a lot of licensed franchise. So it's going to be interesting to see if they bring more of that to Rocket League, and if they bring that to Fall Guys, because even before, like you saw stuff like you saw Doom costumes, you saw all these other like themed costume events in Fall Guys, but
Yep.
their actual in-season events have not been like, I know
Hmm.
they're doing, was it some type of futuristic event and another type of event that I eludes me right now, but their season events doesn't really ring anything
Yeah.
in like Fortnite's, so
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if they bring that into that as well.
Yeah, because like Fortnite is definitely the better at this compared to like
Yeah.
Rocket League. But I remember like Rocket League having like Batman stuff, and then they even
Yeah.
had Mario and Luigi skins
That's
for their
right.
cars. So it's like Epic is really getting better and better at this and getting in
Mhm.
Fall Guys because like before Among Us blew up, Fall Guys was
Yeah.
definitely like the king of that space for
Yeah.
a hot minute, and everybody wanted a skin in Fall Guys. I remember,
Yeah.
like even Walmart like had like a mock up of like a
I
Fall
forgot about
Guys
that.
skin and everything. So like Epic getting them, I think the Mediatonic will have the horsepower
Funding.
behind it. Yeah,
Yeah.
the funding and everything to be able to do more because they've been able to do a lot with the game and it's still
Mhm.
very vibrant and still making money. But
Mhm.
with Epic behind it, it's going to definitely get pushed a lot harder and
Yeah.
have the funding and the horsepower, the manpower, if you will,
Mhm.
to really bring it to the next level because
Right.
I think their season content has been pretty solid, but I think it could
Yeah.
be even more so.
Yeah.
So it's just seeing what Epic can do for them. So yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, and obviously Fortnite prints money, so it's going to be an easy thing just for them to buy licenses. I'm going to be interested to see because I think they saw for Psionics, right? The Rocket League people, they had already made this decision before Epic bought them, but they're free to play and they have like Fortnite like a battle pass or whatnot.
Hmm.
I don't know if Fall Guys will go free to play necessarily, but it'll be interesting to see if they adopt like a battle pass model as well. Because
Yep.
we were talking before air, it's like they're just getting games that'll just print money at this point for them. That'll just be
Mhm.
continuous that they can just pour money into. And if they give this labor of love that they've given Fortnite, people will just be drawn to them and just throw more money at them. I know you don't care for microtransactions, but
No.
it's hard to argue like the success Fortnite has had.
Oh no, definitely. Fortnite has had a ton of success, and it's interesting. Like with Fall Guys, I know we reported on it. It is coming to Xbox soon, and they've been
I was
working
gonna say,
on crossplay and everything. And Epic getting them at the right time, I think, could help push that
yeah,
to be faster happening, and be reliable because that's the biggest thing about crossplay is like having something that's actually reliable to work
right.
and everything.
And you hit and you beat me to it, right? And it just perfectly lines up with they just announced a couple weeks ago that it's coming to Switch and Xbox, and now Epic buys them, so it's just like, here you go, here's the playground we live in now.
Yeah, the perfect storm. The perfect storm.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know Alien was in Fortnite. I didn't know that they had put that.
Yeah, they
there.
just threw that in, I think, like this past weekend or early this week. So it
That's
just
pretty
hit.
cool. Speaking of Aliens Fire Team announced coming summer for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Is that going to be old, past gen, and current gen, or is that just?
Yeah, it'll be both. So it'll be 4 and
Okay.
5, and then Xbox One in the series. So it'll come to both.
Okay, awesome. So, what is the game type of this supposed to be like?
So from seeing the trailer of this, right, that it feels very like it's basically like a fire team. It's like they give you a bunch of different character classes. Like I'm looking at this article here where they've got a ton, like they've got gunner, demolisher, recon, technician, and doc. So they're going to have five or six different roles that you can pick. Now I don't think it says how many can be in a team at once. I'm sure with a fire team, it's going to be no more than 4 to 5 players at a time.
Yep.
But it feels very like Left 4 Dead, right? And the Aliens as a franchise, like again, perfect storm. Like they throw it into Fortnite and then the announce of a new game because the last couple Alien games we saw, right, was that terrible Colonial Marines game that was just half-baked, done by Gearbox, ironically. So that was Gearbox's dark years. And then we saw Alien Isolation, which was a great concept. It was single-player focused, but because they had to meet a certain requirement, here's where the bad politics of third party comes in. It was supposed to be a 6-hour game, and it was going to be a great 6 hours, but they're like, we need to justify $60, make it longer. So they just took that formula and just extended it for like 13 hours, and it wore thin really quick. So we had one terrible game and one game that was a great in concept, but was overdone. So hopefully this brings in like it being multiplayer, and it will have like a campaign. It'll be like they said, 4 campaign arcs with like 3 missions in each arc. So hopefully it's not just one of those like kind of dumb multiplayer where there's like story in matches or whatnot. So, and it'll be interesting to see if they have like other game modes as well. Because I know it's gonna have, they said it's gonna be a deep amount of RPG style tinkering. So it's probably gonna be in the vein of like a Division where you can like literally grow the character the way you want it to be.
Yeah, I wasn't sure it was going to be like the Predator game that just came out, or like Evolve, where it was like a 4v1 or something like that. I didn't know how it was going to necessarily gameplay wise it was going to be, but hopefully, with it being more like the Division, that RPG elements and everything, it will have a good story behind it. It won't just be like multiplayer. I think that would be really thin, because with Alien, like the story drives it. Like, yes, it is it's sci-fi horror, that sort of deal, but the story drives it forward and drives your actions and your decisions. So I think it's important for them to have that established, and I'm glad to see that they're not just leaving the current, the past gen, last gen, there we go, behind. I'm glad that they're it's smart to hit both, because you've got to you've got to hit that, because like you think about PlayStation, over 100 million, especially for a multiplayer game. You don't want to leave those servers alone, you know what I mean? That you're leaving money on the table. And I'm assuming that it's going to be crossplay. So if not, then they're missing out.
They didn't say. I'll say if they don't, they're already going to be behind. Because we talked about it last week. It's like you were an anomaly back in the day if you had crossplay. Now you're an anomaly if you don't have crossplay in your game. But, and fun fact too, this is, people are going to be like speculating, is like, oh, are you going to get like special like character skins or whatnot? You may get the skins, but there's not going to be cameos of any characters, because this is set 23 years after the Alien trilogy. So this is going to be, it's its own separate storyline, own separate universe type thing. So it's not going to tie into any movies or anything like that. So
okay, well, that answers a huge question. And another big question that we have talked about on this show, literally the first episode of this show, we talked about the Nintendo Switch possibly getting a pro version or such. But there's a report out saying Nintendo will be announcing a 4K capable Switch model with a bigger screen later this year. I think it's time for the upgrade. I think, we've got the Lite version now, and we've had since 2017, we've had the Switch around. So it is time to bring it into this kind of, halfway through a generation, getting 4K and everything. But I think it's a good plan.
Yeah, and last year, obviously because of COVID, they quelled expectation. It's like, hey, we're not talking about any new Switch models this year. I'm like, okay, cool. It's pandemic. It's probably halting a lot of things right now, so we can forgive that. Then this year came out, and the rumors started heating up again, and they're like, no, I'll say, don't expect it. But this year, it doesn't make sense to do that, right? Because you're already behind the 8 ball in terms of power. Like I think we've talked about this before too. It's like, I don't think Nintendo cares about power as long as their games are well polished. But I think it would hurt them to not put out some type of 4K version, right? And as we when we covered the direct, there's a ton of stuff just coming out over the next couple months, like especially between May and July. So I think they wanted to get that out of the way first, and then once a lot of those games have hit, you got to think around like E3, like summertime, or by going into like August, they're going to make this announcement and basically be like, hey, here's what we're doing for our big holiday lineup, because there's some other stories we're going to get to that it would make sense to have this 4K version out, right? And, to clarify, in the article I looked up, like it's going to be the biggest screen, and that it's not a huge difference, right? Because the regular Switch screen is just over 6 inches. The Switch Lite is 5.5. So this is going to be reported to be around a 7-inch screen, but it's going to be an OLED screen, capable of 720p resolution. And, for the Vita fans out there, they love the OLED screen. I know it's kind of killed battery life on the Vita, but it was powerful and you got to love it. The textures and the horsepower it had. But, when you dock it, and see, this is why I'm glad this report came out, because the rumor for the longest time is like, all right, well, the Lite is only handheld. So the Switch Pro might only be docked. But you can dock it and undock it like a regular Switch, because you're killing half your player base if you take out the mobile version. But, when you dock it, it'll be the 4K version. So it being 7 inches, only like a, point, not even a full inch bigger than the regulars. I guess there's only so big you can make it before it gets, awkward, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
they have to do a 4K version. They owe it to their fans, because even as crappy as the Wii U was, you and I can both agree that those games still looked fantastic on the Wii U.
Oh yeah.
So think about how that the Nintendo polish on a 4K gaming system would be.
Oh yeah. Like I'm excited for it because it needed to happen. It needs to happen.
Yeah.
And the possibility of it now, it's like awesome. Like we get, Nintendo's craftsmanship, because that's what they are. They're craftsmen, craftsmen. And I think we getting like 4K games is just going to push it further. Like they're going to have to think about development and everything where they're not leaving one version of it behind or whatever, but you're going to be able to not just have to do cloud gaming on stuff. You would be able to do it like on the system. So I think it's an awesome thing. Might have to get another Switch just so have the 4K from me, I'm hoping they get rid of them baby buttons. I'm hoping
that's gonna be, because the article didn't address that, obviously, because it's supposed to just be a rumor, but at the same time, that's gonna have to be addressed as well.
Yeah, that left Joy-Con drift and all of that. They got to get rid of all that junk. They got to get some real stuff in there. But speaking of Nintendo and Nintendo news, Pokemon just came out of nowhere last week and was just like just like went ham on it, and we're going to cover all of that deliciousness right now. Diamond and Pearl remakes called Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl coming to Switch later this year. Not being made by Game Freak, but ILCA Inc.
Yeah, ILCA Inc. So, and it's interesting, right? And we'll get to the why Game Freak's not working on it in just a moment. But, people have been asking for Sinnoh remakes. And, it's ironic because I actually stopped right before Sinnoh came out playing Pokemon games, but I always heard they were fantastic. So them giving the people what they want is great. Because, people have been asking for Gen 8 Pokemon for the longest time. And then last year we got Sword and Shield. Or 2 years ago. Anyway, we got Sword and Shield. So then now people are asking for they wanted this remake, and now we have it. And it's going to be more of like a chibi style. Like it's going to look like one of those half 3D models where it still looks like traditional. Think about Link's Awakening, because Link's Awakening was chibi style as well. Think about that, but still stay true to the Pokemon formula. So people have been asking for this. It's going to come later this year. It's going to I'm interested to see all the changes they make and see if they implement any of the ideas that they put, like the VMAX or the Gigantamax battles systems in the remake as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they will, just because it is set at a different time and everything.
Yeah.
But we might see it. one thing that I would love to see, since they keep skipping around gold, silver, and crystal, like I would love to see. Those are the last three that I like played. And I would love to see that actually happen. Stop jumping around. Give me gold, silver, and then crystal. Crystal is probably one of my favorites other than yellow. Like I played the mess out of gold, which crystal was pretty much gold and silver with just like added areas.
Yeah, I mean, it was like when red, blue, and yellow came out. Yellow was an amalgam of the other two, just different.
Yeah.
So,
but the legendaries, the dogs on there, those were amazing.
See, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald were my favorite legendaries.
Okay, so I never played that. After Crystal, I stopped. I went cold turkey. I
went one more generation after you, and that was it.
Well, I think that's like, it was right after, I think it was the Advance.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Advance. I think it was like the next one after it or whatever.
Like, it was like the Advance SP.
Yeah, like I think they changed like the cartridges, and it was like, I'm not getting another one. I'm not buying another Nintendo product. So, that's when I just stopped. But the big news, the big one here, Pokemon Legends, how do you say that one? Arceus?
Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Arceus is an open world Pokemon spinoff being developed by Game Freak and coming early 2022. Now, this one big. Guys, this one was big because it's open world. Like Sword and Shield was kind of like the first little dipping the toe,
but it was big hub areas.
Yeah, big hub areas, but this is going to be open world, and we were talking about this before we went live, that it's not just continually going forward in the future. This is set years, hundreds of years in the past, like where it's like feudal kind of like era and everything. And they did put out a trailer. We're not going to watch it here. You should go check it out if you're a Pokemon fan. They got work to do, but it does look interesting. I'm curious to see how it all is going to look with HUDs and all of that kind of stuff. What was your take on it, Derek?
It was different, right? Because I had the same reaction of you when they said open world. I'm like, haven't we already had that? But then I thought about it more, and it was like, all right, no, it's more hub world. But no, this being set in like feudal, like it's the feudal Sinnoh past, so it's gonna stick with the Gen 4 theme of it, obviously. But they're gonna go back in time, and we talked about it. As you stated, they really don't do that. Like I said, they kind of talk about the region, but more when it comes to like the history of the legendary Pokemon. They don't ever really go into like the detailed past or like the history of the region. So this will be an interesting take in the Pokemon universe, and it's going to be an action RPG. Like they took inspiration from Breath of the Wild. And it's going to be very free roaming, free flowing. And the wild Pokemon, like you're not going to have like that break when you encounter like a wild Pokemon where it does the break and then it goes to like the battle screen. You can just kind of hide in the grass as it showed in the trailer and throw a Pokeball and try and capture a wild Pokemon, and it'll do the traditional Pokeball thing. It's going to be interesting, like how in depth this goes. Like, is it going to be like a typical Pokemon RPG, because every iteration they keep going more hardcore with the RPG mechanics, or is this going to be more of like a modern RPG like you see with Skyrim or Witcher or what have you? So
I'm curious to see like the mechanics of it, like the hiding in the grass and like throwing the Pokeball thing. I was like, this feels weird, but at the same time I'm like, well, this would be like how it would be, it wouldn't just be like, all right, let me go get the big black foam boards to like do the spinny thing and all of that, and you have a DJ, that over there playing the battle music and all of that. Like, I'm down for it. Like, I think it looks cool. And what was awesome, like something that stuck out to me was like when it was introing, it had like a table and it had two Pokeballs on the side, but they looked like they were carved from wood. So it was like,
I do remember that. Yeah,
it was just like that little attention to detail and everything. So it's like seeing like how all of this started, and like Pokemon were more free. Like, we see them in the games and they're like everywhere, but like this is like man hasn't like took over as much of the world in this era and everything. So industrialization
hasn't taken over. So
It's small villages and all of that. So I am really, really pumped for this one. 2022 couldn't get here faster, so I can play it, because this one's going to definitely be on the stream.
Oh yeah, definitely so. And it's interesting, right? Because if you look at the title, maybe I'm looking too much into this, but it's like Pokemon Legends : Arceus. It's not just basically one flowing title.
Mhm.
So this could, if it takes off and it does well, this could develop into a new series for Pokemon. Because for a while, they've done, and Pokemon on the handhelds have done like other iterations, like Pokemon Ranger and whatnot. Not really have taken off in more of the recent generations or years. But the constant has been Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, right? That has always been like the number 2 type of Pokemon game to proper Pokemon. So maybe they're trying to branch off and create like another series with this, which I'd be down for. Like if you explore like the history of Kanto or like any of the other big regions, I was talking about Gen 3, I loved a lot with Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. If they explore the history of that with like how Kyogre and Groudon, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. You doing like Gen 1, like you could literally do like any generation and then just like pop it back, hundreds of years, and like see how everything was developed and everything, because like Moltres and Articuno and Zapdos, and you could do like so many with like revolving around the legendaries and how they shape the world around them, because they're such powerful Pokemon. Because that was like always the story, where it's like, oh, these Pokemon are so powerful, and then you catch them and they're like, yeah, they're powerful, but they're not like earth-shattering powerful. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's a typical video game trope, is like when you have like a character roster in any game, and it's like, oh, you fight the boss, and you can, if when you beat him, you get to add him to your roster, and like when you're fighting him in the game, it's like all these sweet moves, and then when you get him, it's like meh.
yeah. But continue on with our Pokemon news. New Pokemon Snap gameplay and features revealed, including tools, photo editing, and more.
And they're really catering to this, right? With the photo editing, because as we've seen on PlayStation, photo mode has really taken off.
Oh yeah.
I know in about the recent game that just came out, the 3D World remake, they have a photo mode or like a capture mode in there, right? So they're really taking off with this feature, and like especially with the tablet, like you can do a ton of possibilities with like a camera mode on that, right? So they said, and they'll have like an online component with the photos where you can post it online and other players can rate your photo. Let's see, because the editing includes like you can alter, decorate, and share your snaps that can be rated on by other players, but they'll rate it on pose, size, direction, placement, other Pokemon, and background. And basically this will all go toward filling out your photo decks in the game as well. And the new tools that they've talked about, like the shape, they're in the shape of Illumina orbs, which is like the mystery that that is surrounding the story of new Pokemon Snap, and because these orbs can make the Pokemon glow and change their elemental effects. And it's probably going to be based toward higher photo scores as well. I'm trying to think and see if anything, but yeah. So, and they kind of tease like Celebi at the end of the trailer for the of the gameplay trailer. So that Celebi might be like a big legendary that you catch or you have to take a photo of in the game. So, but seeing all these like little attention to details for like the photo fanatics, right? Because a lot of photographers out there, and there's people who probably want to get in photography. This is a nice little entry point, or like nice little like touch to add into the game.
Oh yeah. Definitely. And like I never like played Pokemon Snap a ton, but it was always a ton of fun to get to play. So like seeing that they're going deeper like into this and really like jumping into like what it is now with photo mode and everything, and you have a game like based on photography, like you're wanting to make sure that your photo mode is the best, because the God of War one was awesome, Shushima's is awesome,
oh gosh, yes,
Red Dead's is awesome, even Animal Crossing has a pretty decent photo mode as well. So like you've got to definitely up your game these days with that, and being, like I said, the game that is about taking pictures.
I know. It would be a missed opportunity if they didn't have this, right? You know?
Yeah, exactly. You got to be the best. Like no one ever was.
No one ever was. To catch them is my real test.
To train them is my cause.
So.
Well, guys, there is our big heaping mass of news, but we're not done yet, guys. Nope, we're not done
not just yet.
Not yet, because we've got our quick hits of the week, and Derek is going to take us from here through the quick hits. Here we go, guys. Boom.
Yeah. So, starting off, PS5, the SSD storage upgrade is set for the summer. Finally, because there's always... hard drive space is becoming an issue regardless now because of how big mainly Call of Duty install sizes are, right? And with the PS5 only having 800 gigs out the box, but only 600 available because of the operating system, has been a hindrance for sure for gamers that play a lot of different games. So SSD coming in the summer, which ironically is, if you remember, because of the part shortage, AMD speculated that consoles won't hit stores again until June. So it's only ironic that they have the SSD storage come around the same time as hopefully consoles will hit stores again.
I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences.
It's just happenstance. We kind of talked about this with a different game last week, right? Like Destiny 2 crossplay will be added in Season 15 of Season of the Chosen. They're currently on Season 13 now. I forget how long their seasons take, but you got to presume at least by summer that crossplay will be available at this point for the game. And, last week we talked about Rainbow Six Siege working on crossplay, and we were both kind of like, this game's been out for a while and it's been successful. Like, why haven't you done this already? Not so much with Destiny, as I'm sure like Bungie leaving Activision took some time away from that. So, but it's great to see that they're not leaving this off the table as well. It's great to see that they're going to bring this in as well.
Yeah. Destiny's season is about 10 weeks long. So
10 weeks. Okay. So yeah, probably around, I would say by end of May, early June, because it would probably be the sweet spot for that.
Yeah. Definitely.
For Monster Hunter Rise fans, if you don't have a Switch or you have a PC, it will be coming. The port for that will be coming in 2022. So if you don't have a Switch, don't really want to have a Switch just for one game, fear not. For the Monster Hunter fans out there, this will come. Kind of surprised to see how big a gap, because it's March 26th for the Switch version. And Monster Hunter World only took about 7 months, because Monster Hunter World, when it came to consoles, was in January of 2018. Then it came to PC in August. So I'm kind of surprised that it's going to take roughly a year to port this over. But then again, as we talked about, the Switch is underpowered. So I'm sure they're wanting to take full... what's the word I'm looking for? They want to take full, they want to take full support of the PC version and max out those graphics.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think they're going to, because like PC players are all about their graphics. So they're not going to want to just like have a Switch port. They're definitely going to want the massive version of it, and the glory of the graphics. Yeah.
So next one is Cana Bridge of Spirits, which we saw got a release date of, I think, August 24th. I'm putting myself on the spot here. At the State of Play last week, will be only $40. And, I got serious, like, Horizon Zero Dawn vibes from this game watching it. Like, I know both you and I were very, like, I know you were hesitant on the game, but seeing the new gameplay trailer... Yeah, exactly. But seeing the new gameplay trailer turned you around definitely to it. Mm-hmm. But it only being $40, like, that's great. It's a great price point, especially after we talked about the PS5 port of Final Fantasy VII being $70 and how that's a lot of money. So it's, for as great as that game looks, it's going to be a nice sweet spot price point.
And the release date is August 24th, 2021 for Cana Bridge of Spirits.
I'm glad I don't trick myself. My mind does work. Next one is, and this one is interesting, and it'll be interesting tidbit for you too. Doom Eternal, which is up for one of the Game of the Year nominees at the Game Awards this past year, raked in $450 million in only 9 months. And the
Man.
interesting part for you is that was without microtransactions.
Hey, there you go, guys. That's how things can work without it. But then they're like, but if it did have microtransactions, how much money would it make? And then
Exactly right.
over
We
to
could have made $1
Epic.
billion.
Yeah.
So, but this just goes to show you, you make a proven product. Like I know Doom Eternal is not your cup of tea, but it just when you make a proven product and it's successful, people will buy it.
And
so,
if you make something with a good story,
yep.
people will buy it because single player stories aren't dead.
No, they still. It's like it's the opposite of what Vita players claimed it lives. Vita doesn't live. I'm sorry.
It does in my heart. Dan says if it had microtransactions, it would have not fared as well, in my opinion. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
It'd be like Dead Space 3 when they tried to just shove every microtransaction in the world into it.
100%. So this one was interesting, right? E3 2021 live event canceled. And, you know, we reported on this, I think it was one of our first, if not our second episode, that they're doing a digital event again. And I'm thinking, and when I saw this, I was like, wait, I thought it was already confirmed for a digital event. And, you know, when I read the article, it's like, oh, we'll double down on digital. So that makes me think it's like, all right, they're just making it official that, hey, we're not doing a live event. We're going full digital streaming. But then I also thought, did you guys have a plan to like not let the masses in, but still have like the companies come in and do like a live stage presentation just for flair? It was kind of interesting to see like how this went. I'm sure it was just like San Diego Comic-Con where it was just like, hey, just so there's no confusion, we're not doing a live event.
Yeah, I think it probably was, you know, just to make sure like it's like, yeah, we are not doing a live event. It will be only streaming.
Stop asking us when tickets go up. We're not doing it.
Yeah. Go away. Go away.
Then we have Criterion's new Need for Speed delayed till 2022, and Criterion is full speed ahead, helping DICE with making Battlefield 6. And that the only reason I brought this up because it made me think. Like, I'm not a huge Need for Speed fan, and I like Battlefield, but not a huge fan of it. But this takes me back to like, you know, the rumor that, or you know, this with the article we talked about a week or two ago about how Coalition came to help 343 work on Halo. Battlefield, you know, Battlefield 5 was met with like lukewarm reception, and the Battlefield franchise has kind of gone down from what it used to be over the last couple of iterations. So I think this is EA and DICE taking full speed ahead and making sure that the time and care is put into this franchise to make it relevant again. Because, you know, there was a time where it was between that and Call of Duty for like a top grade shooter. And the multiplayer, you know, up until Battle Royale took off like it did. Battle Royale they were the first ones to arguably do like a Battle Royale type multiplayer by having like 64 players in one match at any point. So
yeah, I think like as much as I liked Battlefield 1 with, you know, World War I stuff and everything, like I enjoyed that game a lot, enjoyed the multiplayer and everything. I think a lot of people enjoyed it to a point, but I think having more of the modern stuff is more people's speed, you know, more modern weapons and everything. But I think I only played a little bit of Battlefield 5. It was boring to me. The story and all of that was just kind of boring to me. It was like, okay, we're going back World War II. Here we go again. But I think, you know, seeing this trend of publishers bringing in other developers to help their own developers is kind of, you know, it just shows like how different and how drastic a change it is to develop a game in this climate. That they're having to have more people work on it to meet the same quality and time as it would if they were in person. Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of touched on it last week, too, or whenever we talked about the Coalition thing, where it's probably a thing of like that we had so many layoffs because of COVID, but they can't do a lot of hiring process right now to get the games out as fast as they want to. So they're probably having to do a collab work to bring in, like, use other assets. But I touched on it, you know, a moment ago, too. It's like I think they want to take their known commodities and make them relevant again and not just churn it out and just, have it be mediocre again. I think certain games, especially with EA, right? I think they're whether we agree or not, I think they're trying to change their public perception of like how they treat their games and how they put out their games. So I think this is them doubling down and sticking to that.
Yeah, because like we had Hardline and then we had Battlefield 1. Hardline was awful. And then Battlefield 1 was kind of like a breath of fresh air into it. And then we had Battlefield 5, which probably the numbering confused a lot of people as well.
That too.
And Dan said, I was glad they went back to World War II, but I could not get into the gameplay. And I think that's like, they want to be so different from Call of Duty that it does have a barrier into it. Because Call of Duty is like you pick it up, you play it,
Yeah.
So, I think, with this, like, I want to see Battlefield do well. Like, I want to see every game do well, because the better they do, the more they have to. There's more competition, and with more competition, there's more developments. There's more push to be better. Yeah, exactly. So I'm down for them to be better, and Need for Speed Heat was really good. So like we just had a really good Need for Speed that came out, less than a year ago, I want to say. So
2019.
Yeah. Okay. So more than a year ago. So like that's still a good one. You don't have to crank out Need for Speeds. Like I feel like they've cranked too many out recently. So give me Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2 remakes, and I'll be happy. That's all.
Right. Hey, that could be on the docket. I mean, they did Burnout Remastered, and then they're bringing out Mass Effect. So who knows? They could do Need for Speed.
Hey,
so we'll see.
Need to do it.
Last thing on the quick hits docket, guys. There was a random PSVR showcase. I don't think it was a traditional showcase. They just made announcements, but there were new PSVR games announced. But the two notable ones to me, first was the known property. The only known property in the announcements was Doom 3 VR coming out on March 29th, and will include the Resurrection of Evil and Lost Mission DLC. Game kind of looked rough, I'll be honest. Like Doom VFR was a lot more polished than this one. I know it's technically a VR port, but it still looked rough. But it's a big thing for Doom fans, and especially off the heels of Doom Eternal making so much money last year for them. But the other one that intrigued me was, and I know we kind of talked about like a Left 4 Dead-esque type game, but After the Fall is a 4-player co-op game, and it definitely screams like it's got zombies or like undead creatures in there, and it's a very it screams like Left 4 Dead vibes when I watched the trailer. And the last VR co-op game was Firewall Zero Hour, which was kind of like their sort of response to Rainbow Six Siege, but that was the last big co-op centric game. So to have them come out with another one that screams like Left 4 Dead will definitely speak volumes to people.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that PSVR is still getting games. Still being supported, still, having stuff being developed for it. And it just shows that, like, there are people buying stuff. That's what it tells me, Unfortunately, Vita didn't get the same treatment that the VR is getting from PlayStation and third parties and all of that. But, I'm glad to see that. And quick little note about PSVR, there was that patent that you shared about the new controllers and everything, which I'm glad that they're doing a different design instead of the Goodwill version of a Harry Potter wand. So the great value, whatever you want to say.
The great value, but no, and you hit the nail on the head too, right? Like the show, because we talked about it last week. That they officially made PSVR 2 a thing, but it's years down the road. And this is Sony based, and this is Sony reassuring people's like, hey, we're not just gonna throw PSVR 1 to the wayside. We're not done with it. We're still gonna give it love and attention in games, maybe not as frequent as we used to, but we're still gonna put stuff out for it to give you a reason to still play it.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge thing. So I'm curious to see where it's gonna go in the future. And that just shows me that there's more and more to come, and having a 4-player co-op game coming to it means that there's enough people playing VR
Yeah.
to warrant a 4-player co-op game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's a big ask. That's a big ask.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very, very excited about that, and I'm excited for all the news that we've covered today. Where the industry is going, where we can see more and more cool things happening, and all of that. And Derek, thank you again for coming along on the journey, and thank you everybody else for being here for this episode. You can check us live over on twitch.tv/nerdcave network. We put out our schedule each and every week when we're going to do this show, and we're live on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. and Saturday morning at 10 a.m. playing all sorts of various video games. And we do cover the news each and every week. Me and Derek, we sit down, we chat about it. We love to hear your opinions live as we go through it, and any corrections that we might have missed. We might have missed something. But guys, thank you so much for being. Yes, we are human. We are, or are we? Maybe we're robots. Are you a robot?
I can neither confirm nor deny, but I'd have to kill you if I did.
He's a robot, guys. He's a robot. Guys, thank you for watching and hanging out with us. This has been Zach
and Derek.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye.